The 24th installment of Orb. We have returned. Slight little break in between the last few episodes. Never an ideal time, but weird enough, every single time I've taken one in regards to the series, it's always fallen right in between arcs. It's almost been like perfect for that to happen as we would go into our new adventures with Albert being our guy that we're basically going to follow. I did just go back and rewatch the last like minute or two of the last episode to get a general stronger idea and remembrance of exactly what was talked about with him. And the few things I can pick up are somebody who ran from a past life of potential trauma and things that directly have come down from everything that we've built up in the entirety of the series up to this point, right? We've been pushing the general idea of, you can't research these things. Research leads to bad things. It goes against the ways of the world, the way that they know it, and the way that they willingly want to accept things. And it just isn't ideal for our characters. But we have those heroes amongst us who have been taking those extra charges, disregarding fully what exactly has become common and just the ways of the world, the way that people want them to kind of conform around it. They strive to make those improvements, those advancements, and that let that curiosity kind of take over, which is something that Albert kind of pointed out that he doesn't want, right? He's almost running from it, it sort of feels like. He recognizes what stems directly from that curiosity, and he's trying to avoid that. Makes me wonder what exactly he came from in the past, but I do think it would largely be what we've kind of seen with a bunch of the other characters, or maybe even similar to what we were kind of theorizing about some of them towards the beginning of the series. Patatsky being the main one that I'm thinking of, where it's clearly somebody who grew up believing in something, grew up learning about this, and actually probably was torn down throughout his time and ended up altering himself and becoming a strong, believer in faith and actually teaching these things instead to just kind of conform to what they want him to do, and to kind of save himself at the end of the day and not lose his life potentially in the process. Less risk, absolutely, within that. So I'm feeling like we may be in a similar route sort of with Albert, but we're going to probably take a different turn where he's going to turn back the clock a little bit and head back to what he used to do. I don't know how we're going to bring that out of him. We do got 2 episodes, but that's really not a lot to bring that back out. So I'm curious exactly where that goes and where this leaves us, right? We are in Poland now fully being recognized as Poland, and where they plan to bring this. Are we actually going to come to the kind of completion that I think from the beginning of the series we've grown expected to? With this general idea being widespread throughout the world, or throughout at least our close region, or is it going to be something where they leave room for kind of more, and you can always come back with more story to tell, or just we didn't fully complete it, but we got ourselves to a close enough point. I'm curious where that's going to kind of go, and what's going to be the end point here for heliocentrism within the series. But we have a few episodes to figure that out. I hope you guys enjoy. If you like it all, the like and subscribe. If you want to be, feel free to stick around with the discussion, limited comments, with the series. Let's get going with the 24th episode of Orb. Why are you clinging to the past? That's a good. Hold on, though.
実は嘘だ。本当はお前が出した数より少しだけ品質の高いものを作ってる。当局にバレねえように値段よりいいものを出そうとしてる。
And there's a similar way that you can continue what you like.
おかしてるかわかるか。パンを焼くのが好きだからだ。もちろん食ってもらうのも。
Read between the lines, Albert.
だがな、お前はそうじゃないだろう。生活さえできれば十分満足。そりゃ最低の嘘だぜ。俺にじゃなく自分についてる嘘だからだ。ソクラテスだかアリストなんちゃらだかが言ってたらしいな。すべての門にはあれて。
some of the big guys.
自分の得意なこと、自分にしかできないことだっけ？ 鳥のアレテは飛ぶこと、椅子のアレテは座られること。その賢人たち曰く、人間のアレテは考えることだってな。
But why forgo that?
乗っ取りゃ、俺のアレテはパンを焼くことだ。じゃあお前のは
We know what yours is. Don't run from it.
アリストなんちゃらはこうも考えたらしいな。人は自分の特性を生かしてる時が一番幸福だと。趣味ってのは神様が与えてくださった使命だ。自分が自分でいられる場所だ。だから隠すな。若いうちくらい浸れ。誰も文句はねえよ。でも
Things are likely changing. It's been years.
結構文句あるかもしれない。
Yeah. But we don't care about those. Yeah. Stay true to yourself. And fight your fight.
あとは任せる。
What a guy. Fun.
Ah, この前そこの新しい司祭様と知り合った。
Oh.
今度届けるって約束したんだ。そう遠くないし、頼んだぞ。わかりました。
The new priest.
ここか。
The pretty building. Oh.
すいません。誰もいない。
Could just eat it and say you're trying to make a delivery. Who's gonna tell you no? Time for a talk?
私はここの司祭。踏み入れたあなたの勇気を歓迎します。
国会
I'm just, yeah, just trying to deliver some bread.
悩める者の罪の告白を聞き入れ、
I'm not troubled.
許しと和解を与えます。
こんな個室でやるの見たことないですが。
ええ、新しいと思います。でも今後、こういうのが流行ると思います。
Yeah, it seems to be the...
軽いな。大学へ行けと言われたことですかね。
行きたくないのですか？
ええ。
なぜ？
聖書にも書いてあるでしょう。端的に言って、知りたいって欲望はクソだ。
時として語ることが何よりの慰めになる。まあ、じゃあ。
I guess I've been keeping a lot in. Maybe I should, yeah. They're just in there for 4 hours. He's just telling a novel.
ではまず、ご出身は？
遠くの村です。
おう、どちらで？
Far away one. You wouldn't know it.
というところです。父は学ぶのを重んじる人でした。父から何度も言われたことがある。今でもそらんじられる。息子よ、私たちは苦しい生活を強いられてる。しかし、この世にはもっと苦しんでる人が大勢いる。
Yep.
我々農民に勉強など不必要だと言われるだろう。しかしそれは違う。一人一人が賢くなり協力すれば、きっといつか誰も苦しまずみんなが豊かに暮らせる日が来る。そのために学ぶのだと。
Or decided to go all Vinland on us.
アストロラーベまで家にあって毎晩観測記録まがいのことをしてた。
天体観測が好きだったのですか？
ええ、昔は。あの頃は
It's a painful barrier to cross now, though.
見てた。
Reminiscent of Oxy.
飽きずにバカみたいに毎晩眺めてた。理由は説明できないけど、何か心が動く気がした。
That indescribable feeling.
北に、真上にずっと動かない星があるんです。
そうか。それは北極星という星だ。
Just crushes dreams. Everybody else already knows that.
その発見は何の役に立つ？このように発見は何かの役に立って初めて意味がある。そうでなければ無駄だ。常にそれを心がけるといい。
Hmm.
しかし、よく見つけたぞ、息子よ。よくやった。
You did good, but yeah, everybody else already knows that. So
学ぶのは好きか？
はい、父さん。
何が知りたい？
everything.
何って
Yeah.
全部です。夜
What is there to not want to know?
なんで空に星がついてるのか、なんで夜だけ現れるのか、いくつあるのか、どこにあるのか、いつからあるのか、いつまであるのか、そもそも星って何なのか、山ほど知りたいです。
では、なぜ知りたい？
え？
自分の欲望ということかな。
There's your why.
息子よ、この先何かを学ぶとき、知りたいと感じたとき、これだけは覚えていてくれ。疑うのだ。自分の知識も世界の常識も動機も方法も、探求心は歯止めが効かなくなる。世界を決定的に変えてしまう、取り返しのつかない怪物を作り出してしまうかもしれない。だからゆっくり疑って、人の役に立たない道なら止まるべきだ。
A lot for a kid his age to take in, though.
お前に特別に家庭教師をつけよう。アルベルト、こちらが以前話したお前の家庭教師をしてくださるラファウ先生だ。
The fuck you mean by that? What you mean by that? Do they sound like him? They do. Hold on now.
よし。じゃあ一旦
They got questions.
あ、はい。
You should be dead.
先生も星を見るの好きですか？
いや、好きとかじゃない。愛してる。
Classic.
僕は生まれが少々特殊でね。親がいなかったんだ。幸運にも学者さんに拾ってもらえ。
I was just about to have the same story and
寂しくなかったと言えば嘘になる。そんな自分を夜空は救ってくれたんだ。というのもね、ある時眺めてたらふと気づいたんだ。僕たちの住んでる世界の外が存在することに。つまりみんなきっと一つの大きな何か、真理と呼べる何かによってつながってる。それを知るために生きようと思ったね。
僕はそんな大きな目標はなくて、というか僕のつけてる記録は何の目的もなくて、人を助けるわけじゃないし、信仰の役にも立たない。だから無意味なんです。
無意味。ではなんで毎日記録を？
いや、それがわからなくて。
it means something to you.
知りたくて。
あそこが頭で、あそこが弓、ここが胴で、最後はここに足の線を引くと。どうだい？弓を持つケンタウロスに見えなくもないだろ？
いや、
見えないか。確かに無理やりだよね。
That's just what they say, though, so we follow along.
くなったろ？無秩序な情報に線を引く。すると今まで見えてなかったものが見えてくる。賢者とは探求者だ。どんな苦難にも折れず、普遍的な真理に情熱的に迫ろうとする。君もその気持ちがわからないかい？夜空を見ると感じるだろう。 タウマゼインを簡単に言い換えると、この世の美しさにしびれる肉体のこと、そしてその美しさに近づきたいと願う精神のこと、つまりんと感じること。神がこの世界を作り、人はそれを知りたいと願った。これ以上に尊い欲望を僕は知らない。この成功のためだったらどんなことも厭わない。たとえそれが命だったとしても。平気で投げる。知の探求が人や社会の役に立たなければいけないなんて発想はクソだ。知りたいからやる。それだけだよ。そしてね、
Most things, little bit. Who fuck everyone else? What do you want?
真理の探求において最も重要なことだ。信じろ。自分の直感。
Yeah, the path that you follow, believe in yourself and that only.
僕は何があろうと君の好奇心を否定しない。
I'll never criticize it either. Right? Those who are important to you, those who believe in the same things or are after the same things, those of similar interests are the only ones that really matter. Even then.
教えてもらえませんか？
ああ、もちろん。
It's part of the job.
何かきっかけが？
いや、
Were you inspired?
なんというか、先生の話を聞いて、数の操り方を知れば宇宙の神秘にまで迫れると知って、そう考えたらがぜんやる気が出てきたというか。
素晴らしい。
You're willing to learn and to give everything up that you need to.
あるんだ。同じ志を持った者が集う。
Yeah, this is gonna end in blood. No doubts about it.
真理の自由な探求だ。そこでは分野を問わず様々な議論や意見交換が行われる。大声では言えないような危険な思考実験も提案できる。
Right, it's like Reddit.
とても刺激的な場だよ。会に参加してみないかい？
え？いいんですか？ぜひ行きたいです。
そうか。嬉しいよ。じゃあ、お父様にも伝えておこう。楽しみにしててくれ。
ブラフマグプタが起こした革新的な事件はなんという
サーブ・アル・ジャブル・ワル・ムカーバラの翻訳を読んだのだけれど、
私が思うにエーテルの正体は第五元素というよりも
Cool. An interesting place. We got one to go. I don't know how much we advanced. Huh. An almost odd point in time for us to end the episode with the general fact that we're starting a new character, introducing a new story, and have multiple elements that have not fully been, realized, especially with Albert, and it appears the death of his father likely coming into this, and the ways that ties back to the present day, and the way that all of that ties into where we're going to head in regards to heliocentrism. There's plenty of questions and things that have been openly proposed, giving us 2 episodes to deal with them. And as we finish out one, not many of those really feel to find themselves within an answer. So it's kind of weird that we would end things there. But that's not even where we end up with the weirdest part, right? The weirdest thing comes directly in with, hey, remember this guy who was the main character for the first few episodes, and then you watched him die along with all the other characters? Actually, that guy's here now, and that guy is the teacher to the guy that you're watching now. It makes you think, like, where the fuck are we going with this? How did that happen? Why did that happen? I'm not here to give you the answers. I'm not here to act like I know the answers. I'm here to discuss it slightly, but not in as much detail as I think I typically would, or maybe that you would hope or expect from me. This is one of those situations where typically last episodes of series, I talk about this almost every single time just to provide some extra context as to why those discussions may be a little shorter. But when it comes to a final episode of a series, I typically, or a season, I should say, not a series, I typically don't have a bunch to say about the episode itself. I usually, or even the future of where we are to maybe head, I kind of like to let things breathe. I like to let things just sit where they are, and then we revisit that when it comes, because there will be that future point in time when they actually introduce it to us, and it gives us more to kind of look forward to then, rather than us trying to pick apart and figure out what's going on, and then we have to wait 4 years to actually come to those sort of realizations. It just doesn't feel as worth it to me, or as it's just not as interesting to me to kind of handle it in those sort of ways, which is what I've always done with almost every series that we've watched that has another season potentially for us to go into. This feels like one of those episodes where I'm going to kind of follow that sort of line. And I feel different about this series, though, because in the next episode, I believe would wrap up what the manga is. So it would give me a reason to talk about things a little bit more in depth, because there's no real theorizing. We should have all of our answers, or the things that we need to know by then, right? So this episode leading directly into the finale, I feel as though any questions I have regarding what is Raph doing here, why are we here, what's going on, like what is all this, should be answered in the next episode, or made a little bit more obvious, so I can kind of key in on like, this is probably what's going down, right? That's my assumption. And if it doesn't happen, so be it. I think that would be kind of lame, but at the same time, maybe it works. We're not going to really cast too harsh of judgment. But I will say, in my general idea for what is kind of going on, it took me a few minutes to think about really where we were headed with this, and I still don't think I have a clear picture, which is why I'm going to refrain from going too crazy with theories or anything on this. It seems to me that this episode kind of tries to tell us it in a way, right? They make references to, and I probably should pull up the line, but I don't want to, but they make references in a way to, you kind of just believe what you want to believe, right? Follow the path that you want, what you feel is important, and what you want to touch on. That's what I'm doing, right? That's what I'm deciding to do. But at the same time, letting us know, if you want to believe that Raph somehow got out of death and never died, and that's where we are now, go for it. If you feel that the correct and proper route for you to go down is to create this sort of scenario where we're in a historically accurate, or close to accurate sort of world at this point that we haven't been following along for 20 something episodes, and he's alive because this is taking place directly after when we believe he would be dying, and in a timeline that probably falls more in line with like middle Oxybedeni timeline, maybe, or maybe a little after. I don't know how years wise and how long they were kind of all together. Anyways, actually, it would have been beginning Oxybedeni, because they found the chest like 10 years from what we're seeing, and Raph's a little bit older. So it probably would have been like beginning of their time. And that's an actual line that we're almost following directly down. I guess we can believe that too. All this is basically just to say, I don't know what the fuck is going on. But that would be my general assumption, is there's something along the lines, because I pointed it out in the last episode that we're no longer a part of the Kingdom of P, and we are within Poland. And I think one or two of you made a comment that that is something that is good for me to observe. Why would you say that if it isn't important, right? So it makes me almost think, and I could go back to the first episodes, but I don't want to scroll through and try and be detective here. I'm just not in the mindset to really want to go and do that. It feels like maybe we were in those sort of places, and the first time that we really get reference towards where the Kingdom of P maybe is might come when we actually fast forward to Oxybedeni, which then would make a lot of sense for a story to be built up, and for us to get all this sort of like context of like what could have happened, or what would have happened, or what has happened in a world or time where the church is heavily going against those and trying to claim and call out everyone for being heretics and whatever they're feeling, right? Which doesn't to my knowledge, historically line up as well as maybe the situation that we're in now. Also, I believe we were a little bit further in time versus where we are now year-wise throughout the story, so how would we travel back in a way? But once again, I'm not pulling it up to find all these specifics. It's an interesting way for them to open and close a chapter and fill things within the middle that serve as strong context, that serve as strong messages and things for us to take throughout. But I don't know how to feel about that if that's what we're doing. And I do truly hope that we get more context or more clarity, I guess, just in general of what the intended purpose was and what's actually occurring here within the next episode. And then hopefully I can have a little bit of time to kind of digest this. I was going to just jump into the next episode and do it, but I think I want to think on this idea a little bit more and not do something like that before I make and cast any judgments or decisions. I don't like, typically, I'll make it known, I don't typically like when we go down certain routes that are similar to this. I haven't seen it done exactly like this ever, but I've seen things done kind of in similar sort of ways, or even in loose sort of ways where it's a general idea that might be similar in something like this, and I don't typically enjoy those. But we'll remain open-minded until we get to the end so we can kind of form an opinion. And because we're not at the end, there's plenty of context and things that haven't been fully realized. So we gotta get to those parts first. Anyways, there are a few things that I think are really interesting or fascinating throughout the episode, and I would like to talk about them. There's one in specific that I really, really enjoy, and that one comes directly from us having this meeting that we get to at the end, the meeting of the minds of everybody who has these sort of ideas, who are trying to strive and push forward for knowledge. It felt like a place of open-minded humans. It felt like we were in a spot where people were thrilled to express the love that they have for something and happy to hear back the feedback and happy to hear back the things that other people take up an interest in. And I think that is beautiful. I absolutely love when you find places like that, right? People will criticize you. People will put you down for the things that you believe in and the things you want to do. And we even see that in reference to Albert's father here throughout, while he is playing almost the role of the understanding parent, right? You ever have, I don't know if you guys have parents or have people around you or have watched stories or whatever about certain things that are kind of like this, where they don't understand what you like, or they don't understand what you're into and maybe what you're trying to do at times, but they want to support you along the way. It almost feels like that kind of with Albert's father here. He doesn't fully understand, or maybe he does in his own mind, and he is a little hard-headed in the sense of unless you have this big grand purpose almost for it, your mere desires to want to go out of your way and do something isn't strong enough reason to actually do it, but still opts to be I'm going to help you and I'm going to give you the support and set up whatever it is I need to for you to do that, despite me maybe not actively agreeing with that sort of route, and advises him in a way. This is a child who probably can't really comprehend the things that you were trying to say to him, and it kind of gives off that general vibe to me. So it's good and bad in certain ways in how he's almost approaching it, but I like when we introduce the teacher, who then becomes Raph later, who then has the great mindset of just fuck those people, do the things that you want to. If in your heart you feel like this is a cool thing, or I want to do this and I'm interested in this, commit to it, just do it. And I think that's a great lesson that you can take within your life, right? It's something I've felt like for years on end now, I've been trying to almost live by. I'm still very bad in a lot of different aspects. There's plenty of things I want to do and I feel, and I wish I got out there. It was a little bit more, I don't know, open to actually taking those chances. I think mentally I kind of am, but I'm not I guess not mentally I am. Internally, I feel like I am, but when I'm actually out and presented with those ideas, I don't jump on them the way that I think I almost wish I would. And I think that that's something that everybody kind of should. If you're interested in something, just give it a shot, you know, just do what it is that you can. What the fuck do you think I'm doing? I'm sitting here in front of a camera talking to myself in my room, and I've been doing it for a couple years now. You know, it's just something I enjoy doing. We don't try and go too crazy and making it something that it's not. I like talking about these things in the way that my mind feels, and I like reading your comments about what you think I'm correct or you think I'm wrong, or how you interpreted things, right? That's what I like to do. I like to have people that I can talk to about it, because all of my friends who watch anime don't watch it nearly as much, or don't watch it and want to discuss it on a sort of level that maybe I do, right? So it gives me a way to do it without having to write everything down, because I'm not the best at putting my thoughts into words. And actually writing them down, it's a little easier for me to verbally speak it. And when I do, it comes out kind of jumbled, but at the same time I can edit it and I can do things to make it a little different, and it's a little simpler on me. And I like, this is the format that I just in general prefer, right? But there are things like that I think everybody absolutely should. I have plenty of friends that are like that too, who they're like, oh, this sounds kind of cool, and it's like, so do something about it. Take that extra step, you know. Don't be afraid. Don't I don't know, I've even taken those sort of steps in recent with like the way I present myself and things like that, right? Like, we'll go outside, and I've recently been buying other clothing and other things, some things that are maybe a little bit more vibrant or a little bit more flashy, a little bit more, I don't know, just things that I've always thought were like kind of cool, or I see it, I'm like, that looks kind of cool. And I'm always like, I don't know how I'd style that. I don't know how I would make that work in an outfit, or make me not look like I'm dumb when I'm walking around with it, and bring and attract attention to me, you know, because maybe that's not even what I'm trying to do. I just think that it looks cool and I would like to have it. But I've taken the mindset of like, screw it, just get it, figure it out later, do what you want. Nobody else cares. We don't care what other people think, you know? And I think that that's a good sort of thing for us to take, and Albert to realistically take out of this, which I assume that he likely will. I assume we will follow down a path where he says, screw everything I've been doing up to this point. Let me, as an older version of myself, recall and find the things that I've been doing in the past, or what made me intrigued in the first place. Recall these kind of connections he had with Raph, and, you know, this meeting and everything that he likely had, and maybe get over whatever trauma and things that might come along with his father's death that we're going to probably end up seeing. That'll result in him being like, I'm going to get back to these things that I consider myself to be interested in, I consider myself to enjoy. So I think that would be a great thing, and I'm excited to see where he heads, where he finds himself. Having suspicions that he's not going to be the one who finds our answers for heliocentrism, but if he can contribute in some sort of fashion, and they can give us a little slideshow for how that develops, I think that'll be plenty on my end here. All right, let's sim through, and we'll see if we find anything interesting in it here. Little talk with this guy. He's a good dude. I like him a lot, and he had some fun stuff to say. And I really like this sequence too, when he points up to the stars and he starts tracing it. Showcases a little bit early what we're going to end up getting later, with Raph going through and trying to tell him about the different constellations, which I think is fun. He gets stuck here. Why can't we progress or develop? Is there any significance directly onto here, or whatever this one is? Or is it just at this point he starts recalling the things of the past? There is potential that comes along those lines. I like that he came out and we just put him in this ever so like growing smaller and being more consumed by the darkness that kind of shrouds you. Is pretty cool. We get our finale within the OP. We set him off to the church to find himself in a new journey. We end up talking. We end up giving out some confessions along the way, despite the fact that we are solely here just to drop off some bread. We're forced to endure a hard life, but there's many who have lives who are much harder. Yes, absolutely, right? But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you should punish yourself, or that you should think that the things that you're dealing with are very important at all. They're extremely relevant to you, right? They impact you on a direct level, and you should absolutely care about that and treat them with the highest level of care. Don't just think because there are people that are in worse spots than me that my issues don't matter. In the grand scale of things, sure, they might not, but you're still your own person at the end of the day, and to be able to find that happiness and to be as free and, you know, open as you can be to anything in the future, and actually find yourself in the future, you got to kind of deal with those things too. And I don't think that there's anything so wrong. There's times and places, there's ways that you can be overly selfish, and there's ways that you can be like kind of oblivious to those things that are kind of occurring around you and those others who are more misfortunate potentially than you and have these harder lives. But at the same time, you should still cherish yourself and the situations that you're in and be able to find those sort of outs, to find those answers that you need for you to continue. Because if not, you're going to have to keep dealing with that for the rest of your life. Back then, I enjoyed observing the heavens. And then we get a long backstory for the things that are to come. And I love the general curiosity that comes out of him. I want to know this. I want to know this. I want to know this. Well, why? Why do you want to? I don't know. I want to. I feel it in my heart. And I love later when Roth's like, that's the reason. Even though the dad's like, yeah, I don't know about that. You must doubt. This is the line I was talking about earlier, right? You must doubt. This is how I'm feeling in regards to, like, they're directly telling us here, even if you're feeling these things and you want to know all the answers, you should doubt. You should track yourself back to the beginning. You should think about all the different outcomes. Doubt the things that you know. Doubt the way that we've been told stories and the way that things have been done before. And maybe you can find your answer then and there. And I think every one of these lines just falls perfectly in line with, like, my own delusion of what the author might be trying to tell us in regards to what's going on here, right? Everything, conventional wisdom, the knowledge, all these things, right? The motives and means of how we got from point A to B, right? How we got from episode 1 to here. Doubt all of it, right? Knowledge can be an incurable monster that can bring irreversible change to the world. Take time to doubt the path that you're on. And if it doesn't serve humankind, then go no further. And here we go. Why the fuck are you here? I can't believe it. And overall, he's still the guy, right? He has so much aura to him. He's literally him. I can't sing his praises enough. We're not going to go overly into any of his lines or the things that he has to say, but overall, he's the guy. And I fucking love him. And here we go to seek out the truth. He's going to let us attend here. And hopefully we find some answers for what we're looking for. To an end we come, we charge on for one final episode. I will be back in a week for that. Probably only a day or two for me, but you guys will see it in a week. Let me know where we're at, you know? Should I have fully understood this? Is this something that I should absolutely get? Am I missing the big point of what's going on in regards to Ruff? Am I just kind of bypassing some things that are relatively important here? Or maybe ways that you took and felt based on when this episode aired. Let me know. Let me know. I'd be curious to see what you're thinking. I'm interested to see their plans for wrapping things up, for potentially explaining a little bit more about what's kind of going on and what we're actually observing and what happens within Albert's backstory that will lead him into the present day for us to then find our advancements within society in heliocentrism and get closer to the truth that they've been seeking since the first episode. I hope you guys have a absolute fantastic one. If you liked it, all the like and subscribe down to me. Feel free to check out the video, the channel, and comments to the series. I'll be back for the 25th episode and finale of Orb next week. You guys have a great one.